You'll probably have noticed in the previous table that there were a couple different types of variables that we had. When we were talking about GDP per capita, that's a continuous variable that can really take on any value within an interval of 0 to technically infinity. We can think of other examples aside from income-based measures like GDP per capita, like temperature. But you'll also remember that we saw some finite or infinitely countable number of values possible, right? So we could think about, unfortunately, a child mortality rate, right? Like we can have a count of, unfortunately, the number of children that perish, or we could have a count of population. The important thing here is that you can't have half of a person, right? We also could have nominal variables. Now, this is going to be categorized in R and during a regression analysis as binary and not binary, but that does not necessarily mean that's the case. It could have multiple categories. And when I say nominal here, I mean that there's no preference, ordering, or directionality here, right? Like for color, we don't have a preference between green, blue, or red. Now, we could think of different things where there is kind of an ordinal preferencing that's built into the binary structure of the variable. So we can think of height. We might want to divide height, rather than being a continuous measure, into three different terciles, right? So tall men will be in the upper tercile, then a median tercile, and a lower tercile. And again, the way we're going to represent that is in a binary fashion. Once we have our quantitative variables of interest, we're going to want to have some summary or characterization of that variable, be it a measure of center, which can be something simple like a mean or a median. We may be interested in characterizing the distribution of that variable, so we could have a minimum, maximum, and median. We may also be interested in measuring the variability as well, and that'll include things like the variance, and we'll characterize that as a standard deviation. So this will be really important for hypothesis testing and being one or two standard deviations away from our parameter of interest. We'll also be using interquartile ranges, as well as different ways that we may want to talk about the shape of the distribution. We can talk about being left skewed, right skewed, symmetric, or even potentially bimodal.